She didn't go away, I did, so I'm back. Thank you guys for the support. But we have a really special guest today. His name's Jon, my friend. And I want him to introduce himself and tell me a little about it, or tell us, everybody, about himself. So go ahead.
Okay. That's a long story. So
I know, like, minimize it, because your story's crazy.
We'll just talk a little bit about me. So I'm an ADHD coach. I have ADHD, and that's actually kind of the reason why I went into ADHD coaching. I grew up in Florida. I've lived here for the majority of my life, lived out west for a little while, worked in the outdoors. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then
I was living vicariously through you for all those years.
Yeah, and then I came back here November 2021. Yeah. So and that's when I went through schooling for ADHD and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And so I wanted to like bring up kind of like your journey from, I mean, even trying to find out like what was going on with you, because I met you before you were officially diagnosed.
Right.
And I mean, I've known you kind of like from afar from high school, but friendship wise, like I knew you kind of struggled, and we would be those friends that would talk and then not speak, and like, what happened? Oh,
yeah,
you know, like we really were like those friends that like, I knew if we spoke, it would be normal, but it wasn't.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's 1,000 degrees
Florida,
outside.
It's so hot.
It's hot in here, so yeah. But so we were always, and I always kind of like wondered, because I'm usually a steady friend, but I kind of gauge my friends. So sometimes when I know that they need a little space or they need some time, I kind of give that, and vice versa. I know you give it to me, so. I wanted to talk about like how the process from like you knew something was wrong, but then you were misdiagnosed, like what that was like really, because I think a lot of people don't even know they have ADHD and they struggle.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna start throwing statistics at you immediately. So 4 to 5%, not 4 to 5% of people who have ADHD adults. 4 to 5% of adults have ADHD, which in the United States is somewhere around 11 to 15 million, somewhere in there. About 1% of them know about it.
That's crazy.
And I mean, like, less probably want to know about it. So there's kind of that whole thing. So for me, and for a lot of people who have ADHD, it's one of those things where you felt the majority of your life that there's something off, but you don't know what it is. You can't figure it out. You're like, all right, so like I act a little bit more sensitively in these situations than most other guys, you know, and you're like, so what's that about, right? You're more aware of like the feel of a room. Like a lot of people would be like, oh, you're an empath. I'm like, no, I just have ADHD, you know.
You're saying stuff and I'm like, which every time you say stuff, I kind of relate. So I'm, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So from a very young age, things just kind of felt a little weird, a little off. Like, I mean, like I still, you know, I played football on the street with my friends and all that kind of stuff. And, but you know, like over time, right, you know, you go through middle school, you go through high school, you just recognize more and more that it's just kind of like, there's something that's different. So I did write notes down, but I'm not gonna go through. There's a lot here. Yeah, so from the beginning, next question. I mean, we're gonna do it that way, because if I just go, this is gonna be a lot longer than that.
Well, I'm gonna go crack the door a little bit because it's hot in here.
It's hot in here, guys, and we're inside, so I can't. My thing's like 107 or 106.
My car's
Oh, really?
the same thing.
It's all right, yeah.
It feels like
Feels like that, yeah.
This has to be what hell feels like,
Yeah.
but
Little crack.
like I was always interested, because like when we were talking a lot and you were, I want to say Utah, maybe.
Primarily.
and you were, because you were everywhere, it was everywhere, but like you seemed like something was really wrong, and you was just so frustrated because there was not, like, you didn't feel like your diagnosis was like very accurate, or you just like, and sometimes I feel like people take the diagnosis, whatever is given, which isn't always accurate, and they take it and run with it. But I don't think you did. So like, why?
Well, in all honesty, I mean, so when I was first diagnosed, I was like 18 or 19, right? You get out of high school, and if you haven't been preparing for college, and people haven't been preparing you for college, not naming names, but when that happens, right, you just kind of like are like, oh, okay, what do I do now? You know, so I went through like a period of that, of just like
soul searching, kind of finding your purpose.
I mean, I don't know if I would call it soul searching as much as it was just like, I don't know what to do, you know? So, exactly. Those words exactly. So,
I know. We can use them here.
Okay.
You need to.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I didn't have any fucking idea what I was doing. So, I just didn't know. And so I became depressed. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. And so I went to see a doctor, right? I went to see my family doctor, a GP, guy I've been seeing my whole life, right?
And they don't know.
They don't.
They don't. Not about this, you know?
Not about this, right? And to be completely honest with you, like if I was going to give my personal opinion on GPs in general, I would say that they're probably pretty good at diagnosing colds and fixing broken bones. And that,
Correct.
especially things
As
that
they
are
should.
psychological, should be handed off to people who know what they're doing.
A lot don't.
Right.
A lot will diagnose you, give you a miracle pill in their eyes, and don't give you anything else. No, I mean, no real, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I have pretty severe anxiety, and my doctor was like, here's a pill, and didn't even like question me on it. And
Did
I'm
you say
like,
what it was?
I was like 20, and I was like, didn't know any better, really, truly.
Well, my oldest son has ADHD, and we were struggling at a young age. We started, and we went through so many different medications. Every medication had something until the last one, he was in 5th grade, made him so depressed he wanted to kill himself. And I said, no more. We're going to figure this out.
I'm not going to use names right now.
Oh, for the medication?
I might know the medication.
It was Adderall.
Okay.
It was Adderall. Yeah, we did Concerta, we did a patch, we did we did so many different ones. Vyvanse.
Right.
We went through so many different ones.
Yeah.
Adderall seemed to be working the best. So then, once I feel like your body gets used to it. So we did 10 milligrams, we did 20 milligrams, we did 30 milligrams.
Yeah.
To the point where it was just, I didn't even notice he was depressed. He was at school and it was Halloween actually. He had on a mask, and his teacher said she saw him take the mask, put it on his throat, and start strangling himself. And he said he didn't want to be here because the medication made him feel like he wasn't even a normal person.
Wow.
And I was like, no more.
Yeah, see, so.
No more. I didn't even know that story.
Yeah, that's rough. And I'm sorry he went through that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
But he's 18 now, and that was 5th grade. He did so well, like doing it, like, he researched it on his own. He tried to figure out things that helped him. So like him just trying to figure that out, he got it without medication. So, and I know he still struggles now, but he kind of knows what he needs to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussion on both sides of it as to whether or not medication is the best route. It really comes down to the person. ADHD is an incredibly specific disorder. That, I mean, like it legitimately, like every single person has a slight variance on it, if not a large variance. So,
Just talking about that.
yeah.
About how, like, it can differ from person to person. My nephew, I mean, and he struggles. Like, I think he has no real self-control. He doesn't have any, like, he thinks he's doing something for 5 minutes and it's 5 hours later.
Yeah.
Like, truly. And I really, besides just a few people, I don't know. I feel like I know people that have ADHD that truly are misdiagnosed, but I don't know, like, I've been learning, researching more because of you and just other people I know, my nephew, but it's been like, I feel like it's something that people just it's just ADHD.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's not anything. Consumes your life if you let it. It changes your life once
No,
you know about it.
and it's not even if you let it. I mean, because it starts at the genetic level. It's hereditary. You come out with it, right? And so,
I didn't know that.
yeah. One of the things about ADHD is that it legitimately affects every area of your life, including sleep. That's that one post that I made.
Oh, I know. And I
Yeah.
relate so much, and it scares me because I haven't talked to my doctor, so I can't even self-diagnose, so I'm gonna lie. But sometimes I'm like, everything you said, when you tell me things, I'm like, I feel that to the core of my soul.
Yeah.
Why? Like, but
Yeah.
if it's genetic, and this, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my brother who passed had ADHD.
Definitely.
So I'm like, damn. Like, you're telling me this, and it's like, I mean,
I wonder how many motorcycle riders have ADHD.
Damn, you don't talk to me.
I'm just saying.
I love bikes. I'm
Like
sorry.
me too. I mean, like I used to ride like dirt bikes a lot.
And my brother was a motorcycle rider. That's how
Well,
he
that's
passed.
I mean, like
that's
why
wild.
that's why I brought that
That's
up. Yeah.
wild. I had no idea.
Yeah. So people who have ADHD. What the mechanism that's wrong? Wrong is not the right word. The mechanism that's not the same is that we have an area that secretes dopamine, right? Dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. I don't know if serotonin comes out of the same spot, but I know that norepinephrine and dopamine come out of the same spot, and they do similar things. They provide things like motivation and task initiation, task, like moving through the task, like hitting little milestones, and then you get more dopamine at the end when you finish, right? That's a normal, neurotypical is what kind of the word is in ADHD verbiage. Neurotypical people have a fully functioning version of that where their brain gets enough dopamine, and so then they are less likely to be in car accidents, less likely to speed, less likely to die via myriads of different things. Yeah, it's legitimately so. Like, if anybody wanted to like watch something that like it's not super present, it's like so his name is Dr. Russell Barkley, and he talked to parents at the CHAD conference. CHAD is children and adults with ADHD. That's what it stands for. Huge organization. And they have a conference every year here, and then they have one in Australia.
You went to one, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to my first one was this past year. It was
I
phenomenal.
pay attention.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But so he gave an address at one, and he literally said ADHD affects every single area of your life, and he's like, your finances. He's like, people who have ADHD, like, we have a much higher propensity to like, and that's what happened to me.
You're more.
You're
kind
more
of like impulsive.
You're
with your
impulsive
money.
about what you
Okay.
do, right?
Shit.
Yeah.
That's me all the way.
It's funny. I'm not. I can be very non-impulsive when it comes to like family things, but yeah, I'm impulsive. Shut up. Shut up. I'm just like you're talking.
I'm not saying
And I
anything.
have me and my younger brother, our personalities were so very similar.
Yeah.
And I got him, and it was like.
He got you, right? Yeah.
Damn you, I can't stand you. And
You
that's why I feel
Go see a
like
psychiatrist.
but that's also why I've always felt like we just got like we
Yeah,
just
it's true.
connected really easily.
Yeah, you meld really well with people who kind of have it. Like, I can't express, and like if I could say anything to people who are like, listening, watching right now, it's that for me the most validating moment of my whole life was at that CHAD conference last year, because I'm surrounded by everyone who gets it, right?
And that's so deep. I wanted to bring up, like we were talking, like even with her son and just in general, people normally don't take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Like I know that you have had people that don't, but like I want people to know what that feels like how detrimental it is to like just kind of brush it under the rug. We don't brush cancer under the rug, and I feel like yes, it's the severity is different, but this is still like your entire life. And why I brought you on here, like why we wanted you, is like to shed light that it's not just like something like you can deal, pop a pill, or you know what I mean. And I feel like that's what it is. Like people kind of just like, I don't know why you're overreacting.
Yeah. No, Adderall. Like the interesting thing about like Adderall and all the the stimulants and the amphetamines and all those is that if you have ADHD, they can help, right? They help 85% of people. There's a 15% group out there that they don't help, right? Like with your son, he's had to have, and there are a myriad of different ways that it can be dealt with. And a lot of it comes down to like self-acceptance and understanding where you are and what is getting in your way, and then building constructs around that to help you. To answer your question, it sucks. It sucks a lot. I can't not.
You could speak, like I know you're holding back.
No, I'm just saying I can't not address this one specific instance in my personal life, and no names or anything, but like this, there's a specific individual in my life who I value their opinion very highly. I love them very much. But every time I bring up ADHD, and because I mean, like it's new to me in the sense that like I was diagnosed 4 years ago, and I became a coach 2 years ago, right? Like this is all new to me, and so like sometimes I say things about ADHD because I'm like reminding myself about it, and this individual gets so angry with me that like it's just like it's the most invalidating experience I've ever had. And that sucks, and it's, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be woke or anything like that. That's not what ADHD is about, right?
No.
ADHD is something that actually has, like the history of it goes back to, like there are reports from Hippocrates, like ancient Greece, where like he's like, there's these kids in my class that are just not doing what I want them to do, like they're bouncing all over the walls and stuff, right? And so that's obviously the impulsive type of ADHD, hyperactive type of ADHD.
My nephew, I mean, he's brilliant. Like this kid is smart, but he can't seem to like it's boring to him to just sit there. But I wanted to mention that because I think half the people that don't want to find out, or the 4% that don't need to know or don't know they have it or don't need to, it's like what would be the difference? Like I don't think that they would see. And I feel like it's in certain cultures, it's like just deal with it and shut up, truly. Like, I mean, it's like, I know for us, it's like, go see a therapist. Oh, I mentioned therapy to the father of my kids, and he was like, therapy? They don't need that crap. And it was like,
my youngest son, I took him to the doctor, because I have two, so my oldest and youngest. The youngest one, I took him, not thinking anything about ADHD. He's just he wasn't reading. So I was like, what's going on? He can't read. He's, now he's in first grade. They're like, he can't read at all. So I take him to the doctor, and the doctor told me he had ADHD. And I said, no, he doesn't, because it's not what his brothers look like. She was like, his is not, he's the impulsive. He's not hyper. He's just, his mind goes from this to this, and he acts. Like that's him. Like he's not jumping all around walls. My oldest, I was like, sit down. And he's like, squirrel. No, sit down. The youngest is just the impulsive one.
And he needs stimulation at all times.
Well, it's crazy because the oldest one's medication was stimulants. The youngest one's medication is
like, do not stimulate.
They're like, we don't want to stimulate.
You know what's interesting though? So just for clarity's sake, so the types are hyperactive, inattentive, and combined. So just because like the impulsive action is generally more with the hyperactive individual, at least you'll notice it more when they're younger.
Right.
As people get older, when they become adults, like that hyperactive goes inside, and then it's basically what the combined and the inattentive type have been experiencing the whole time. So what they've been experiencing is anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder, or I mean, there's a bunch of comorbidities that come along with this. That's something that like I want everyone to know.
Yeah.
Like if I could like declare it from the rooftops, it's that like ADHD does not normally come by itself.
No, my youngest, the first doctor that told us, I was like, well, maybe I should get a second opinion, because I felt like it was more to it. Took him to another doctor, she's like, he has anxiety, and they don't want to diagnose him with bipolar yet, because he's not 12.
Yeah.
So they're calling it a mood disorder.
Okay.
But I'm like, and then my oldest, he's
I
telling
can
me
see
he's
that.
depressed, and I'm like, wow, like everything kind of just like comes together. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and so that's why I was diagnosed 6 times. I said 5 times when I was texting you earlier. I was misdiagnosed 6 times
Wow.
with anxiety and depression, and mainly it was like doctors who were like, "Oh, this is what you have. Okay, here, have the drugs," or you know, we're just going to continue, right?
To really, and I guess psychiatry is a little different because they kind of go, for me, in my opinion, just in my own, they go deeper.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like it's like they want to know your history beyond just
Well,
what
they're
you're
certainly
experiencing
supposed
right
to.
now.
They're
Yeah,
certainly
so-
supposed to. So like I'll
Exactly.
say that like with
That's
my ADHD diagnosis, it didn't start that way. So an evaluation for ADHD should be somewhere between 2 to 8 hours. Sometimes it takes multiple visits. I mean, because they literally are supposed to look for all those other things: depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. There's a bunch of stuff that could be in there, right? And so ADHD is just one of those things. Autism is another thing that comes along with ADHD. And it's not the same type of autism that like you would expect when you talk about autism, like individuals who are purely autistic and far on the autism spectrum, they're a very different type of individual. But people who have ADHD actually have a high percentage of individuals who have some autistic aspects. So what was I saying?
You're saying how it's just there's so many different things that they can look at and that come with it. But it comes to that. Even this.
Oh yeah.
look,
So
even what you just did, like I'm glad that it happened because I didn't get at first. Like you tend to kind of like wait.
I'm in the
What were
middle
you
of
talking
talking.
about?
I'm in the middle of
And
talking,
you know,
and my
it was
brain
a
just
process.
shuts off. Yeah.
It was such a process being, and that's why being in your life, like it has to come with empathy and understanding to a certain, like you don't have to have a degree and know and be a coach but
Right.
like I feel like it's important to like, because there should be a little room for, okay, well he may be a couple minutes late, he may forget what we were talking about.
I was a couple minutes late.
And we were talking, I was like, this is the ADHD. But because I read on it, because I took the time to understand it, you know?
My son, because I was screaming. I'm like, do you not see the time?
And he's like, no, I
and
don't.
He just walking,
And he almost like gallops at the slowest pace.
yes,
I know her. I mean, I've known her for years. He's the sweetest kid,
But
but
I'm just watching.
I say kid, he's an adult now. But it's like, KJ, we got somewhere to go.
Did you know it at the time? Like,
But you know, that loss like that, you kind of just
Time
don't.
bud.
You just don't get it.
Time
But people who don't understand it will be like, he's
So
inconsiderate.
like that guy's an inconsiderate asshole.
Yeah.
Do you get people that feel like you use your ADHD as an excuse? Like, oh, you just use it as an excuse?
Just the one that we were talking about.
Okay,
earlier.
I kind of felt that when you were saying, because I went through a similar thing,
Yeah.
and they were like, it's my son's father actually, and I'm telling him, well, he's getting this, and you know, he's probably feeling like that because of his ADHD, and I got him like an IEP plan and all that stuff for extra time.
That's awesome.
Oh, he doesn't need that. That's just
It's
an excuse.
surprising.
He's just lazy.
Yes,
He doesn't need that. He just needs this and he needs that. Don't give him sugar food and make him go to bed at this time. And I'm like,
I mean, like avoiding sugar is a good idea.
for everybody.
It's
And
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
caffeine too. Even caffeine.
But I think that's
Caffeine.
for any kids.
It depends, yeah.
Don't give kids sugar.
Yeah.
It's important because even in our friendship, I caught myself like, oh, okay, like this is just part of it. And I didn't know. I will tell you, I knew bits and pieces because I tried to understand my nephew.
Yeah.
When he was diagnosed, he was 4. Like,
Right.
And there was something obviously different.
And that's
Nothing
I mean,
wrong.
that's an
Nothing
early
wrong.
diagnosis.
Yeah, he was 4. And I
4
think
is
he went
really
through a
early.
process of like, he might have other stuff. Like it was a process, but like full blown, he went to really good doctors. Like
Yeah.
it matters. It matters if you're if you're a general practitioner, hey, you know what? I think this may be an issue, but let's get you to the right doctor.
Right.
His older brother, I think he didn't have ADHD, or maybe a form of it, but he was diagnosed with anxiety. And so like for a long time, and I want that to be a conversation we have, because a lot of people are like, oh, ADHD, please, that's nothing.
Right.
Just like, don't drink
Yeah.
coffee, calm yourself
Yeah.
down,
Right.
or like people think it's an excuse. Like it's,
Yeah.
you don't say.
You know, I mean, I can say that there are times when you can be, when I have to make sure that I'm not using it as an excuse.
Like a crutch.
Right, because because then that puts a bad name on ADHD, right? But, you know, really what happened today was that I was preparing for this, and then I was like, I gotta walk my dog. And then I was like, and then I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna put a nice shirt on and a jacket and I'm gonna walk out the door. And I put a nice shirt on and I was like, that shirt doesn't go well. And I had to take it off and put it back on.
I swear I have to go to the doctor.
Okay, see? So that's why I was late today, right? Because in my mind I was like, well, like it's like literally this amount of time and this amount of time and this amount of time, right? So like it takes 10 minutes to walk my dog around the block. It takes me 2.5 minutes to get dressed. Like throw some stuff in my hair, get the heck out the door. But the problem is if there's any extra time on any of those, and there is extra time on every single step, you're 5, 10, 15 minutes late.
I made it a point young to not be late for things, because it was ingrained. Like my mother is like, you better be 20 minutes early. I don't care if it's for a hair appointment and she can't see you in half an hour. Be there. So that, but as I've gotten older, I'm noticing like I'm starting to not have so much control over it. And I'm mad at you right now.
It's
I'm
hard.
like, it's crazy, but yeah.
Well, it's legitimately hard, and it's, you know, it's one of those things that like when people so like my level of ADHD, I wouldn't even compare with some people. Like there are some people who legitimately, like I know a couple of people who just, man, it's like when you understand ADHD, it's like your heart bleeds for them, because it's it's really hard. I mean, like they can't function, right? And like that's the reason that like it's considered disability. Like, okay, yeah, so like there's a little bit of disability for me, right? For sure, right? But for those individuals, I know somebody who like just cannot keep a job to save their lives, right? Because they get so it's so boring to them that they like their skin crawls and they're like, I gotta go.
They can't function at their job even,
Right.
you know? And I'm glad you brought that up, because for you kind of need ever-changing stimulation. Like I've noticed just in knowing you. And
Do you notice at the beginning when I took my jacket off, I was like, I need to move a little bit.
yeah, and he just sat down and he was like, I can't take this. But it's like you've always worked, well, you were a park ranger, right? Like you've done a lot of things, but you've always kind of constantly had a change. What like just because of stimulation wise is that? I'm just trying to understand.
So here's the main difference between people who have ADHD and neurotypicals. Is that if you have ADHD, your brain is driven by interest. If you're neurotypical, your brain is driven by what's important. So like that's why they don't have issues with finances. That's why they don't have issues with, you know, like getting a house and getting married and having kids and like doing the thing, right?
What you're supposed to do.
Right, what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah, the American dream, whatever. It's dead anyway, so. But,
it's dead.
It's shot down.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's at the bottom of the ocean.
With the submarine.
Oh, jeez. She's not cold at all.
Oh, yeah. So interest, though, is what drives us.
Okay.
So, so I went to college. I was really interested in medicine. Not immediately. My brother-in-law, who is now, he owns his own company and he does consulting and he's cool, amazing. He really is, honestly. He's like, I love the guy. but he went through pharmacy school and he got his PharmD and he was a pharmacist for a while, right? And he's like, you're getting really good grades. You should look into medicine. And I was like, I think I will. And then impulsivity, right?
That's what I was like. I can't see
Full
you doing that.
full dive into
That's what
it.
you do, though.
And
You
so
know.
3 straight years of just math and science classes, and I was just kicking ass and taking names, right? Like, and so I had the interest there. I had the passion for it. And then a couple of things happened. I had a brain injury. So trauma and ADHD are closely interconnected. They aren't always, but if you have ADHD, trauma will exacerbate. So I was trying to stop a fight and I got punched in the mouth. And like I had my hands up like this, and this dude, I have his name right here, and I'm not going to say it, but I really want to.
Really want to cuss you out.
I'll just say, like, if you're paying attention, it was at Fiddler's Green, it was 2008.
He knows a year. He's like, this has changed.
I know the exact moment.
Well, like, when I was writing down, because I was writing down my whole thing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's 2008, you know, so, anyway, so, I'm walking up to this guy, and I've got my hands up, and I'm like, look, man, we don't want any trouble, and the word trouble didn't even get out of my mouth, and just, and cold clocked me, because he's like 6'4" and 280 pounds, and he was an ex-Marine, right? Like, this dude knew how to fight. Like, I've only punched one person in my life, and it was my sister. I'm sorry, Heather.
Man's man, you know?
Yeah, you know? I mean, like, you know, she hit me first, she hit me in the face with a phone, so I feel like there's a little bit of excuse there, right? So, but, so yeah, so I was just cranking with interest until that point. I got knocked out. I had a brain injury right here, which is your prefrontal cortex, which is the area that affects or is most affected by ADHD, and it is your executive system. It's how you plan, right? Yeah. It's how you plan your life, like the intricacies, like all the little things that add up to the bigger things that add up to the bigger things that keep you moving forward in the direction you want to go, are all right here, like this specific area. And so that's where I had a traumatic brain injury. And so then that exacerbated, so anxiety and depression straight through the roof. And I couldn't smell anymore, right? That, like, I hit the back of my head on the ground, and that's actually how I got it was a brain contusion, and that's how I got the TBIs, because my brain bounced on my skull.
Wow.
So that's fun. But,
He's like, that was great.
but yeah, it affects your olfactory nerves if you hit the back of your head sometimes. So, like, to this day, I can't smell as well as I used to. I used to be like a bloodhound. But
did you know at that time you had ADHD or not?
No, yeah. So
recently.
like
4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, yeah. So yes, I'm 40, so I didn't graduate college when I was 36. I was 29. I mean, but yeah. So anyway,
he's 30.
I'm 29.
She takes away 10 years from everyone.
I'm 30. It's good to be 30.
Next week I'll be 29.
It's good to be 30 again.
It's good to be 30.
So that interest, like, along with that skyrocket of my ADHD, like, that level of interest was already kind of tapering, because I was just like, this is so much work, and I'm 27, which means that, and this is fun, when I'm done with, like, let's say I do a residency and I go through a fellowship, I won't start making money until I'm 40.
Like, you would have just started.
That's how old I am right now. Yeah.
You would have just made.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how that works, but like finances, paying for school, and that, you know, all that.
Well, I mean, like, when you're going to med school, they're like, here, have $100,000, no problem.
Oh yeah, but you gotta pay that.
You gotta pay that.
That's the thing. So you don't make money until you're like you're 60.
Yeah, right.
No
so,
debt.
like, finally, I'm getting ready to retire. So interest. So when that stopped working, I finished the degree. It was just basically a liberal arts degree, and then I kind of floated around for a while. I worked in corporate America. I hated it. Went out west, fell in love, and that's kind of how I started. I worked out in Zion National Park for a while, and then I worked at Lake Mead, I worked at Yellowstone, and that's where my interests were. And actually Lake Mead and Yellowstone were after I found out that I had ADHD. Before I had ADHD, I moved out west because I was like, before I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was like, I hate sitting behind a computer all day long, it makes me want to die. It really does.
No, the dramatics is not from ADHD. This is just
No.
But it's like I remember before being diagnosed, and we were like friends, but we would talk here and there or whatever, but it was like, oh, you're here now. Oh, you're here now. Oh, wow, you moved again. And I'm like, it's been a year, buddy.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, but I did because I knew who you were and you liked being outside and being outdoors and I mean climbing mountains, and he's done all of that, but outside looking in, I was like,
I mean,
what's going on?
Changing jobs, what's going on here? Well, that first job that I had in Zion wasn't the park itself, it was outside the park. And I worked for a great guy. The company is Zion Guru, and they do canyoneering and rock climbing guiding. And super amazing stuff, and then they also rent out gear and stuff. And yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, we need.
I'll take you around.
Yeah,
I'll show you all the spots.
Yeah.
Zion still is
you
like
seem
really
like the
cool.
happiest there. I will say that.
It's still very much embedded in my heart. I love that place. I hated it when I first got there because everything was brown, and I was like, "This is not Florida."
But we were talking about how you were,
that's right,
how coaching and how you kind of guide them through certain. I mean, if they're impulsive, then you do certain things with them. But it also is very particular to the person.
It's very specific to the person. I mean, there's general things that you can say, like people who have ADHD. Here, I've got a list. So we struggle with executive functioning, right? Which that's the prefrontal cortex. So that's our working memory. So short-term memory, the ability to regulate your emotions can be very difficult for people who have ADHD. We tend to have very black and white thinking, where we have a lot of difficulty with vagueness. Impulse control, self-monitoring, planning and prioritizing, organization. Those are all the executive functions. Oh, well, there's some of them. Some people think there's like 25, and some people like there's 6. So, but the idea, right, is that every individual has their own set of circumstances that is unique to them, right? And it is the nature and nurture thing, right? So like you've been ADHD your whole life, and so your trajectory goes in this direction because of the things that you encounter as you go, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Just on that note, it just popped into my mind. So
if you can give advice to anybody out there that's struggling with ADHD, what would be something you can, something maybe that would motivate them, or if they can go to? I know you said the pause thing, which was good. Is there anything else that you can say that they can do if they're struggling?
Yeah. So so in like physical terms, so it's important, and these are challenging for everybody, but sleep. Have to get enough sleep. So go to bed.
Take a nap.
Go to bed, take a nap, whatever you need to do. Get on a sleep schedule. If you're not familiar with sleep hygiene, become familiar with it. Google it. It's very easy, right? Then, Googling it is easy.
Go find out.
Right.
Yeah. But then your diet, right? Like if you're eating garbage food, you're gonna feel like garbage. And so then that'll affect like your emotional regulation, your ability to just function, right? If you feel like crap, you're not gonna be doing great, right? Let's see, so I said, where is that? I said, exercise, super important, but not too much, which is something that I've learned lately.
He wants to kill himself working out.
No, I don't. I definitely don't. But it's interesting, as life progresses. Like 2 years ago, right now, I was in some of the best shape of my life. I mean, I was deadlifting.
Same.
I was deadlifting like 315, and I had abs and stuff, and like you could see them in pictures, right? It wasn't like I looked down and I could see abs. It was like you could see them objectively,
too, not just
right?
other people.
Exactly.
Remember my days?
Yeah. So So those three things are super important. Check into Dr. Ned Hallowell. So he has something called the Hallowell Centers. There are a few of them. Mostly, there's one in Boston where he actually is. He and John Rady were two of the individuals who wrote the seminal book on ADHD, like the first book on ADHD. It was adults, I should say. And a lot. So he has an Instagram account. And he's got a TikTok and all that kind of. He's an old guy. He's in like his 80s, but he puts out a ton of really great information. There are great podcasts out there on ADHD. If you're looking for just generalized information, right?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere.
And even if you don't have it, right? And just
You
want
wanna
to
know
understand,
about it,
want to become empathetic or understand a friend, a family member. I feel like it's so important to have that because, like, you said you had one person, right? But that stands out. Like, that's a thing that you can focus on. This one person is invalidating everything that I am, essentially. Even though they don't see it the same way.
Yeah.
But if you can understand it, then I think there's less people like
so
that.
and there's some jargon is negativity bias.
Yeah.
So we have a higher level of negativity bias. So some people have described people who have ADHD as like being the hunters of the hunter-gatherers. So we're always on alert, right? And we have the propensity to attack, and we can focus real hard on stuff. Like, if I'm chasing down that antelope, I'm gonna run it out, right? I'm gonna run 15 miles until it's smoked.
It almost like you can't focus on anything else until you get to it.
And then you've got, but then with that though, like you experience a higher level of negativity bias because like you're always on alert. Your system is constantly like fight, flight, or freeze. Or fawn, apparently, is another one.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Thank you,
So,
Jon.
yeah,
This has
absolutely.
been amazing. I want us like share all your socials because I want people to start following you.
Yeah, great.
Because I do, and like there's things that you put out there that I'm like, damn. I mean, and just like just for knowledge, just for you put it out there. I mean, and you make it entertaining too. So what are your handles? What's your TikTok? What's your everything? And ladies, he's single. He's single, y'all. And did it stop?
No.
Oh.
Okay, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's
It's a
single.
battery.
He's single. I'm just saying. And
You
but
gotta
what
call
are
me
they?
because I don't have time right now.
And he might not remember. So terrible.
I'll probably remember.
And he'll be late to the date, y'all.
That's a possibility. ADHD Coach Jon. So at ADHD_Coach Jon. And that's me on Instagram and LinkedIn. On Facebook, it's Orlando ADHD Coaching. I have like 2 pages on Facebook that are supposed to be like group pages, but they haven't really like grown into anything. By all means, please join them, and then they'll grow. And then
That's what we're here for.
yeah. If you're in Orlando, I have a meetup group that meets once a month, every Sunday, first Sunday of the month, and we get together, and we're all people who have ADHD, and have a good time, and it's a good way to, again, get with people that
Get it.
get it. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
love this.
Yeah, thank you,
And guys, this is gonna air Friday. We'll see you there. Subscribe. We mentioned the giveaway for next week. So subscribe to our podcast page on YouTube and follow us on Instagram if you have not. But we're Aspired Podcast on YouTube and the Aspired Pod.
We're at Aspired Pod on YouTube.
Yeah.
And at
Opposite.
Aspired
She keeps me
Podcast
grounded.
on
So we're
Instagram.
the
I
opposite.
got y'all.
At Aspired Podcast on Instagram and Aspired Pod on YouTube. Follow us. The link is in the bio. You can't miss us. Thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye, neighbors. Can you see my fingers?